Hi everyone, it's Stu here from 3B, and today I'm going to be talking about The Last of Us 2, which no doubt is probably one of the most anticipated games, possibly, maybe, of all time. Last of Us 2 is coming out next year in February, and there is some people are not too happy about the fact that they're missing a component that was in The Last of Us, the original, the first one, and that is the multiplayer. And admittedly, the multiplayer in The Last of Us was really popular and was really pretty good. I played it a few times. I'm not a big fan of the multiplayer elements of games that are predominantly first person. I'm also not a huge fan, I hasten to add, of multiplayer, not because I think they're rubbish or anything like that, it's just not particularly very good at them. I think, there's an awful lot of people that just play multiplayer all the time, and that is what they do, and they become incredibly good at that. So someone who's a middle-aged fart like me doesn't really stand much of a chance. Plus, for me, I'm more about the story, which is why I think for me The Last of Us resonated, and for many The Last of Us resonated so much within ourselves, because it was a real story being told that you would experience. And that's, after all, why we play games. We're in it for the story to experience, to be part of the story, and to be one of the characters or characters in the story. So I don't really have a concern for the fact that there is no multiplayer for The Last of Us 2 currently. That doesn't mean to say they won't be developing it, but it's not actually going to be shipping with a multiplayer element. Now, for me, that is actually a good thing. When you consider they've spent 5-6 years or more developing The Last of Us 2, that is an incredible amount of time to be honing the story, to be making every single element of that story, of the representation of that story, and how it's told, and those that are telling it, to get it just absolutely spot on. And when you consider the fact that, admittedly, I'm sure the development teams at Naughty Dog is, several hundred strong, it still takes an awful lot away from a development team to develop for a multiplayer element within a game. It's still quite an incredibly complex thing to do, certainly within the environment that they're also developing as a single player game. So for me, for them to actually invest everyone in that story, everyone in the single player, everyone in getting everything absolutely spot on for the single player, for the story element of the game, is by far the most encouraging bit of news that I've heard regarding The Last of Us, aside from what we've seen, of course, the amazing graphics and the dribs and drabs of the story that we're getting through. So for me, I'm actually really encouraged by the fact that they've not spent 6 years or so developing a multiplayer element. Doesn't mean that it's not going to come along. It's just a relief and assurance for me, as a big fan of The Last of Us, that they're really going to push the envelope with The Last of Us 2. And it's kind of ironic in many ways that we're coming to the end of the PlayStation 4 era and moving into the PlayStation 5, much like when The Last of Us, the original one, came out towards the back end of the lifespan of the PlayStation 3. It also signals a very strong possibility that for the PlayStation 5 there's going to be a much grander, prettier version with high-res graphics to take advantage of that extra power. For me, yes, of course, I will buy it on the PS Pro, and then I'll get a PS5 and I'll buy it again. I don't care that I'll be double dipping. It doesn't bother me. It will be, I hope, an amazing game. and I'm very excited about it. And I'm also incredibly relieved that they've just been working solidly on the single player. What are your thoughts? Do you think that it's an element that you really wanted and hoped for? Do you think that it's something they could have done, even though they've been developing the game, you know, the single player element too? Or is it something where you're like me, that you're just glad that they've invested all that time, all those resources, all those people in the actual single player element, and they're looking to get the game absolutely spot on? Fingers crossed for The Last of Us 2. I don't think I need those fingers crossed, but just in case. Anyway, please subscribe. Don't forget to click the bell. Let me know what you think. Give me a thumbs up. You know, with the bell, if you don't click it, you don't get any notifications that I've done a video, and I'm doing more videos now. And yeah, thanks. Cool. Fabulous. Speak to you soon.